I thank the Chairman for yielding the time. Mr. Chairman, I rise in support of this bill. First, I'd like to thank our colleagues for their careful consideration yesterday of the Military Construction Veterans Appropriations Bill, which, as you know, passed overwhelmingly in the House. There were only 4 members who voted against that bill. And I'd like to ask all of the supporters of that bill, to continue on this bill today. A very conscientious piece of legislation that I believe can and should pass this body on a bipartisan basis. The bill before you, as the Chairman and Ranking Member have said, provides $38.9 billion for the Department. In such austere budget times, this bill rightly prioritizes spending on programs that save American lives. Frontline protection, terrorism prevention and response, disaster recovery, and a strong and secure border. All of these are paramount to the safety and security of our homeland. Mr. Chairman, we are constantly reminded that we can't let our frontline security efforts lapse. The terrible attack at the Boston Marathon underscored the need to support key readiness programs, provide heroic first responders with the funding and equipment they deserve, and improve intelligence and threat targeting activities so that we can help avoid terrible attacks like Boston in the future. With this bill, we're tightening security at our borders with funding increases for Customs and Border Protection and ICE that preserve the highest totals of Border Patrol agents and CPB officers and the highest detention bed capacity in history. We've targeted funding to combat human trafficking, child exploitation, cybercrime, and drug smuggling. And we're protecting our shores and access points with adequate funding for the Coast Guard and TSA. This bill also fully supports the known requirements from the FEMA Disaster Relief Fund, which provides assistance to localities overwhelmed by catastrophic natural disasters like the recent tornadoes in the Midwest. Our thoughts and prayers, like others, continue to be with the victims of those disasters that have ravaged our nation, like Oklahoma. To that end, this bill provides an additional $6.2 billion for that disaster relief fund. That's for fiscal 14. Right now, though, as the Chairman has said, combined with the approximately $11 billion kitty that FEMA has on hand, there is sufficient funding for the immediate response to Oklahoma and other affected areas. And our committee stands at the ready to assess any further needs as a fuller picture of the damage becomes clear. It's our duty as members of Congress to provide this critical assistance to communities that are suffering from such unexpected and devastating natural disasters. Mr. Chairman, strong national security comes at a price. And as we all know, tax dollars for these programs are in limited supply these days. So we can't let any of the funding we appropriate to the Department of Homeland Security go to unproven or wasteful programs. Across the Department, we've made careful reductions that bring total funding in this bill to $617 million less than the fiscal 13 enacted level. We've enforced strict reporting requirements and other oversight tools to guarantee that DHS is spending its dollars wisely. And we've prevented funding from being used on risky or controversial efforts like transferring detainees from Guantanamo Bay or another Fast and Furious type program. Now, Mr. Chairman, before I conclude, let me extend my appreciation to Chairman Carter and Ranking Member Price, former chairman of the subcommittee, for their hard work in crafting this bill. As has been said by both sides, this is a nonpartisan bill. It always has been that way. We've attempted to work from the very beginning of this subcommittee's existence to work across the aisle to be sure that the homeland is adequately protected. That takes cooperation across the middle aisle, and it's happened over the years, and it's happened this year. And I want to thank these two gentlemen especially for working together as they have. This is John Carter's first bill as a cardinal. He's making his maiden voyage, and I think the ship is sailing true. Judge, he says he hopes so. And we want to thank, of course, the staff of the subcommittee for their tireless hours dedicating toward crafting this bill of great importance to our national security. So I'm proud to say, Mr. Chairman, that I stand before you in 100% support of this bill. It represents all that makes our country great and the security that will keep our country great. And I urge our colleagues to support this bill. And I yield back. Thank you.
Gentleman yields back.